I deposited a $42,000 check into my bank account at 9:17 in the morning on a Tuesday in March. It was the biggest retainer I'd ever gotten. The client was a tech CEO whose wife had found his text messages to a woman he'd met at a conference. He sat across from my desk 3 days prior, in a suit that cost more than my first car, and said, "I don't care what it costs. I just want to make sure she doesn't get half my company." I nodded. I wrote down his demands. I sent his check to my accountant. I did my job. But when I walked out of the bank that morning, I didn't turn left toward my office. I turned right, toward the parking lot. I got in my car, locked the doors, and sat. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just stared at the dashboard clock, watching the minutes tick by. 9:22. 9:27. 9:33. By 10:04, I knew. I was done. After 30 years, after 1,217 divorce cases, after making more money than I ever thought I would need, I was never going to practice law again. You're probably thinking I had a breakdown. Or that I found God. Or that I found out I was sick. None of that. I quit because of a plate. A chipped, blue ceramic plate that I found in a file cabinet in my office 2 weeks before that Tuesday. I want you to understand something. For the first 27 years I did this job, I thought I knew what divorce was. I thought it was about money. Or cheating. Or who gets the kids, or the house, or the dog. I thought I was a problem solver. I thought I was helping people get out of bad situations. I thought I was fighting for the little guy, or the wronged wife, or the dad who just wanted to see his kids on weekends. But that plate? It taught me that I wasn't helping anyone. I was making it worse. I was getting paid to turn the things people loved into weapons. To turn the things that once meant everything into things to fight over. And by the time I figured that out, I'd already spent 3 decades doing it. Let me start at the beginning. I graduated law school in 1993. I was 27. I had $87,000 in student loans. That was more money than my dad had made in the entire year before he retired from the factory in Queens. I was sleeping on my brother's couch in his tiny 1-bedroom apartment. His girlfriend hated me. She would leave sticky notes on the fridge that said, "Wash your dishes, we're not your mom." I applied to every law firm in Manhattan. Big firms. Small firms. Firms that did corporate law. Firms that did criminal law. No one called me back. Except Harry. Harry was 68. He ran a one-man shop out of a third-floor walk-up on 34th Street. The office smelled like cigar smoke and old coffee. The carpet was stained. The file cabinets were dented and rusted at the corners. He looked at my resume, leaned back in his chair, and said, "Kid, you got good grades, you got a good school, why do you want to do divorce law?" I said, "I want to help people. I want to make sure that when people get hurt, someone has their back." He laughed. A big, rough laugh that made his whole body shake. He pulled out a cigar, lit it, and said, "Kid, let me tell you something. Divorce law isn't about helping people. It's about helping people pay you to feel like they're getting even. You don't help anyone. You just help them burn through their savings faster. And then they hate each other more. And then they come back to you for more help. It's a cycle. And we're the ones turning the wheel." I thought he was just a bitter old man. I thought he had forgotten why he became a lawyer. I told him, "I can do better. I can help people without making them hate each other." He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, "Fine. You're hired. $35,000 a year. No benefits. You start Monday." I was ecstatic. I called my mom that night. I told her I had a job. She cried. She said, "I knew you could do it. Your dad would be so proud." I went out and bought a cheap navy suit from a department store. I ironed it 3 times. I showed up to work on Monday at 7 in the morning. My first day, Harry threw a file on my desk. Linda Carter, he said. Husband left her for his secretary. She wants child support. You take it. I opened the file. There was a photo of Linda with her 2 kids, a boy, 7, a girl, 5, smiling at the camera. Linda was smiling too. But her eyes looked tired. Like she hadn't slept in months. I called Linda. I told her I was her new lawyer. I told her I would fight for her. She came into the office the next day. She was wearing a faded blue jacket with a coffee stain on the cuff. She had a grocery bag full of unpaid bills tucked under her arm. She sat down, and she started crying. She said, I work at a diner. I make $11 an hour. I can't afford to pay the rent. I can't afford to buy my kids new shoes. He makes $70,000 a year. He drives a new truck. He takes his secretary to nice restaurants. Why won't he help me? I wanted to fix it. I wanted to make it right. I spent the next 2 weeks drafting motions. I spent hours on the phone with the court clerk. I spent days researching child support guidelines. I filed the motion. I got a court date. I showed up to court in that cheap navy suit, and I argued. I yelled. I pointed out that her husband was underreporting his income. I pointed out that he was spending $400 a month on golf lessons instead of feeding his kids. The judge ruled in our favor. Linda got $1,200 a month in child support. She got half the equity in the house. She got the old minivan. I thought I had one. I thought I had saved her. I walked out of the court, and Linda hugged me. She said, "Thank you, you don't know how much this means to me." I said, "It's what I do. I'm here to help." 6 months later, Linda called me. She was crying again. She said, "He's late. He hasn't paid the child support in 2 months. The landlord is threatening to evict me. The kids need new school clothes. What do I do?" I said, "I can file a contempt motion. I can get the judge to order him to pay. I can get him fined. I can even get him thrown in jail." She paused. Then she said, "I don't want him to go to jail. I just want him to call his kids. They ask about him every night. They draw pictures for him. They leave them on the counter. He never comes to get them." I stopped. I didn't know what to say. I was a divorce lawyer. I knew how to file motions. I knew how to argue in court. I knew how to get people fined. I knew how to get people thrown in jail. I didn't know how to get a man to call his kids. I didn't know how to get a man to care. I said, "I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about that. I can only help you with the money." She said, "Oh. Okay. Thank you anyway." She hung up. I never heard from her again. That night, I went home. I sat on my brother's couch. I drank a cheap beer. I thought about Linda. I thought about her kids. I thought about how I had gotten her money, but I hadn't gotten her what she really wanted. I hadn't gotten her ex-husband to love his kids. I hadn't gotten her the one thing she really needed. But I pushed it down. I told myself that I couldn't fix everything. I told myself that I had done what I could. I told myself that money was important. I told myself that Linda needed the money more than she needed her ex-husband's attention. I was wrong. A few years later, I bought Harry's firm. He retired. He gave me the keys. He said, "Kid, don't become me. Don't let this job eat you alive." I said, "I won't. I promise." I was wrong about that too. I started taking more cases. I started charging more money. I started hiring staff. I moved into a nicer office, 12th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows, a receptionist who smiled when people walked in. I bought a nice car. I bought a nice house in Westchester. I got married. I had 2 kids. I was successful. I was making more money than I ever thought I would need. But I was also becoming Harry. I was becoming bitter. I was becoming cynical. I was starting to see every client as a paycheck. I was starting to see every fight as a game. I was starting to forget that the people I was representing were human beings with real pain and real stories. The thing about being a divorce lawyer is that you start to see patterns. You start to see the same fights over and over again. The same arguments. The same accusations. The same hurt. After a while, it all blends together. After a while, you stop seeing people. You just see cases. You just see billable hours. You just see numbers on a page. I remember sitting in my office one afternoon, maybe year 15 or 16, looking at my calendar. I had 4 consultations scheduled that day. For people coming in to tell me their marriage was ending. For people coming in to tell me they needed help. And all I could think about was how much I was going to bill them. I didn't think about their pain. I didn't think about their kids. I didn't think about what they were losing. I just thought about the money. That's when I knew something was wrong. But I didn't stop. I kept going. I kept taking cases. I kept billing hours. I kept pretending that I was helping people. Then came the case with Tom and Carol. They lived in a neighborhood called Willow Creek, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone's business, where the homeowners association met every month to argue about the height of people's hedges and the color of their front doors. They were in their 50s. They had been married for 22 years. They had raised their daughter there. They came into my office. They were quiet. They didn't yell. They didn't cry. They just sat there. Tom handed me a letter from the homeowners association. It said they had 30 days to cut down the oak tree in their front yard, or they would be fined $500 a day. Tom said, "I want to cut it down." She doesn't. Carol said, "I want to keep it." He doesn't. That was all they said. I took the case. I charged them $300 an hour. I spent weeks researching homeowners association bylaws. I found a loophole: the association had not given them proper written notice. I drafted a motion. I scheduled a hearing. I was ready to win. Then, one day, I went to their house to take photos of the tree for evidence. I rang the doorbell. Carol answered. She let me in. I walked into their living room. There was a mantel above the fireplace, covered in photos. Photos of Tom and Carol on their wedding day. Photos of their daughter, Sarah, as a baby. Photos of Sarah in elementary school. Photos of Sarah in a hospital bed, her head wrapped in a pink bandana, smiling at the camera. I stopped. I looked at that last photo. I said, "Carol, who is this?" Carol looked at the photo. She said, "That's Sarah. Our daughter. She died when she was 9. Leukemia." She paused. She said, "Tom planted that tree the day we brought her home from her first round of chemo. He said it would grow big enough to shade her when she got better. She never got better." I looked at Tom. He was standing by the window, staring at the tree. I said, "Tom, why do you want to cut it down?" He didn't turn around. He said, "Every time I look at that tree, I see her. I see her lying in that bed. I see her asking me why she had to be sick. I see her telling me she was scared. I see her dying. I can't look at it anymore. I can't." Carol looked at him. She said, "I thought you hated me. I thought you blamed me for her death. I thought you wanted to cut down the tree because you wanted to erase her. Erase us." Tom turned around. His eyes were red. He said, "I never blamed you. I blamed me. I was the one who made her go to school that day. She said she was tired. She said she had a headache. I told her she had to go. I told her she couldn't miss school. The next day, she was in the hospital. I thought if I had let her stay home, I could have caught it sooner. I thought if I had been a better dad, she would still be here. I didn't want to cut down the tree to erase her. I wanted to cut it down so I could stop hating myself every time I walked out the door. I stood there. I had been billing them for 12 hours of work. I had been getting ready to argue in front of a judge about a tree and a sidewalk. I had been getting ready to win. But I didn't want to win anymore. I didn't want to help them fight over a tree. I wanted to help them deal with the thing that really mattered. The thing they'd been avoiding for 13 years. I closed my folder. I said, I'm not going to file that motion. I'm not going to fight this for you. You two need to talk. You need to talk about Sarah. You need to talk about what this tree means. You need to talk about the things you haven't said to each other in 15 years. And if you still want to get divorced after that, I'll help you. But not before. They looked at me like I was crazy. Tom said, but we're paying you. I said, I'm not going to bill you for today. I'm not going to bill you for any of the work I've done so far. You don't owe me anything. Just talk. They sat down on the couch. They looked at each other. For a long time, they didn't say anything. Then, Carol said, I miss her. Tom said, I miss her too. Then, they started talking. They talked for 3 hours. They talked about Sarah's first steps. They talked about her first day of school. They talked about her favorite color, light blue, the same color as that plate I would find later. They talked about the day she died. They cried. They held each other. I sat in the kitchen. I drank their coffee. I didn't bill them. I didn't take notes. I just listened. When I left, they were still sitting on the couch, holding hands. They didn't get divorced. They kept the tree. They had it trimmed, so it didn't block the sidewalk. A year later, they sent me a photo. It was of them sitting under the tree, with their grandson. The grandson was wearing a pink bandana, just like Sarah. The note said, "Thank you for making us talk. We named him after Sarah. He loves this tree." I put that photo on my desk. I looked at it every day. But I still didn't learn. I still went back to work. I still took cases. I still billed hours. I still told myself that most people didn't have a story like that. Most people were just fighting over money. Most people deserve to have someone fight for them. I was wrong about that too. The years kept passing. The cases kept coming. I kept getting richer. I kept getting more successful. But I also kept getting emptier. I would come home at night and my wife would ask me about my day and I would tell her about the cases. About the fights. About the arguments. About the money. But I never told her about the people. I never told her about the pain. I never told her about what it was doing to me. One night, she said to me, "Do you even like what you do anymore?" I looked at her. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to tell her that I love my job. That I was helping people. That I was making a difference. But I couldn't. I just sat there. And then I said, "I don't know. I don't know anymore." She didn't say anything. She just held my hand. And in that moment, I realized that I had been lying to myself for years. I didn't like what I did. I hated it. I hated watching people destroy each other. I hated watching families fall apart. I hated being the one who helped them do it. But I still didn't stop. I still kept going. Because I didn't know how to stop. Because I didn't know what else to do. Because I was scared. Then came the case with Robert and Margaret. They were 67 and 65. They had been married for 42 years. They had met when they were 25 and 23, working at the same factory in Brooklyn. Robert was a machine operator. Margaret was a secretary. They had saved up enough money to buy a small house in Staten Island. They had never been rich. They had never taken a big vacation. They had never owned a nice car. But they had been happy. At least, that's what I thought. They came into my office. They were quiet. They didn't yell. They didn't cry. They just sat there. Robert said, "We want a divorce." Margaret said, "We just need to split the money." I said, "How much money is there?" Robert said, $20,000. In a retirement account. I said, 20,000? That's not a lot. Why are you fighting over it? Robert said, "I want it. She wants it. That's all you need to know." I should have asked more questions. I should have dug deeper. I should have tried to understand what was really going on. But I didn't. I just took the case. I charged them $250 an hour. I spent 6 months fighting over that $20,000. I filed motions. I took depositions. I subpoenaed bank records. I argued in court. I was ready to win. I was ready to get Robert his $10,000, and Margaret her $10,000. I was ready to bill them for another 20 hours. Then, the divorce was final. I sent them their papers. I never heard from them again. Until 2 weeks before that Tuesday in March, when I was cleaning out my file cabinet, getting ready for the tech CEO's case. I pulled out their file. At the bottom, under all the motions and depositions and financial statements, there was a plain white envelope. No return address. Sealed. I opened it. Inside was that chipped blue plate. And a note. The note was from Margaret. It was dated 2 weeks after the divorce was final. Her handwriting was shaky. The ink was smudged in places, like she'd been crying when she wrote it. It said, "Mr. Hale, I know you probably don't remember me. We were the old couple who fought over the $20,000. I wanted to tell you why I fought so hard for that money. Robert saved that money for me. When I was 38, I found a lump in my breast. The doctor said it was cancer. He said I needed a mastectomy. I was scared. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to look different. I didn't want Robert to stop loving me. Robert sat by my bed that night. He held my hand. He said, "I don't care what you look like. I love you. I'll love you no matter what. But if you want the surgery, I'll save up every penny. I'll work overtime. I'll take extra shifts. I'll do whatever it takes." He kept his word. He worked overtime for 3 years. He took extra shifts on the weekends. He didn't buy a new truck. He didn't go fishing with his friends. He didn't even buy a new pair of work boots when his old ones wore out. He saved every penny. That $20,000 was that money. I found out he had it when we were getting divorced. I thought he had hidden it from me. I thought he didn't care about me anymore. I thought he had kept that money for himself. So I fought for it. I made you fight for it. I made you spend 6 months of your life fighting over money that was never his to keep. It was mine. He saved it for me. Last week, I ran into Robert at the grocery store. He was buying milk. I was buying bread. We stopped. We talked. He told me he never spent that money. He said he kept it in the account, just in case I ever needed it. He said he was too ashamed to tell me. He said he thought I would hate him for not being able to get me the surgery sooner. He said he thought I would hate him for not being able to fix me. I told him I never hated him. I told him I was scared. I told him I thought he didn't love me anymore. I told him I thought he had left me. We went back to his house that night. We made meatloaf. We watched the old movie we used to watch on our anniversary, the one with the couple who moves to the country and fixes up an old farm. You know the one. We laughed. We cried. We talked. We haven't talked like that in 10 years. We're not getting remarried. Not yet. But we're talking. We're eating dinner together every night. We're watching old movies. We're remembering what it was like to love each other. I found this plate in our kitchen. It's the plate we used on our first anniversary. We split a piece of apple pie on it. Robert dropped it when we were moving into this house. We never threw it away. We never could. I wanted you to have it. I wanted you to know that the thing you fought over for us. It was never about the money. It was about us. It was always about us. Thank you, Margaret. I sat there in my office, holding that plate. I looked at the chip on the edge, the faint brown stain from that apple pie 41 years prior. I thought about all the cases I had done. All the people I had represented. All the money I had made. All the things I had fought over. The houses. The cars. The bank accounts. The jewelry. The dogs. The trees. All of it. None of it was ever about the thing itself. It was always about something else. It was always about fear. Or grief. Or shame. Or love. Or the lack of it. I thought about Linda. I thought about how I had gotten her child support, but I hadn't gotten her ex-husband to call his kids. I thought about Tom and Carol. I thought about how I had almost helped them fight over a tree instead of talking about their daughter. I thought about Robert and Margaret. I thought about how I had spent 6 months fighting over $20,000 that they both wanted for each other. That they both needed to give to each other. That represented 3 years of love and sacrifice and fear. And then I thought about all the other cases. All the other people. All the other fights that weren't really about what we said they were about. The woman who fought for the house because it was the only place she still felt close to her mother who had died there. The man who fought for the car because his father had taught him how to drive in it. The couple who fought over the dog because it was the last thing they had agreed on, the last decision they had made together when they were still happy. None of it was about the things. It was always about what the things represented. It was always about the memories. The fear. The love. The loss. I thought about my own marriage. I thought about how I had come home from work every night, and I had treated my wife like a client. I had argued with her over small things, leaving the toothpaste cap off, forgetting to take out the trash, being late for dinner. I had picked apart her words. I had tried to win every fight. I had told her that she was wrong. I had told her that she was being unreasonable. I had forgotten how to listen. I had forgotten how to love. One night, a few months before that Tuesday in March, my wife said to me, "I don't want to argue with my husband. I want to talk to my husband. I want to tell you that I'm scared. I'm scared that you're never going to come home. Not really. I'm scared that you're going to stay stuck in that office forever. I'm scared that I'm going to lose you." I looked at her. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her that she was being silly. I wanted to tell her that I was just working hard. I wanted to win. But then, I thought about Linda. I thought about Tom and Carol. I thought about Robert and Margaret. I thought about all the people I had let down. I thought about all the people who had been scared, and who had just wanted to be heard. I said, "I'm scared too. I'm scared that I'm going to lose this job. I'm scared that I'm going to lose you. I'm scared that I'm never going to be able to fix the things I've broken." She sat down next to me. She held my hand. She said, "You don't have to fix anything. You just have to be here. You just have to listen." That was the first time I had really listened in a long time. That was the first time I had stopped trying to win and started trying to understand. So when I sat in that car in the bank parking lot 2 weeks later, holding that memory of Margaret's note and that chipped blue plate in my mind, I knew. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't be the guy who got paid to turn love into hate. I couldn't be the guy who got paid to make people's pain worse. I couldn't be the guy who got paid to ignore the thing that really mattered. I couldn't be the guy who helped people fight over plates and trees and $20,000 when what they really needed was to talk. To be heard. To be seen. I took out my phone. My hand was steady. I called my secretary. I said, "Cancel all my appointments. Tell all my clients I'm retiring. Effective immediately." She said, "Mr. Hale? Are you okay? Are you sick?" I said, no. I think I'm finally getting healthy. I think I'm finally okay. I hung up. I turned the key. I drove home. It was only 10:30 in the morning. I'd never come home at 10:30 in the morning in my entire career. Not once in 30 years. My wife was in the kitchen, making lunch. She looked up when I walked in. She said, "You're home early. Did something happen?" I said, "Yeah. Something happened. I'm home for good." She put down the knife she was holding. She looked at me. She didn't ask why. She didn't ask what happened. She just walked over to me. She hugged me. She held me for a long time. And I realized that she had known for years that this job was eating me alive. She had known for years that I was unhappy. She just hadn't known how to say it. She hadn't known how to make me listen. I spent the next few months doing nothing. And by nothing, I mean everything that mattered. I mowed the lawn. I fixed the fence that had been broken for 2 years. I watched old movies with my wife. I spent time with my kids. I spent time with my grandkids. I taught my grandson how to fish. I taught my granddaughter how to bake cookies, the same recipe my mom used to make when I was a kid. I read books. I took walks. I sat on the porch and watched the sun set. I did all the things I'd been too busy to do for 30 years. And I thought. I thought a lot. I thought about what I wanted to do next. I didn't want to be a lawyer anymore. But I wanted to help people. I wanted to make up for all the years I had spent making things worse. I wanted to do something that actually mattered. So I started going to the community center in town. Every Tuesday. I set up a little table in the back of the meeting room. I put a sign up. It said, "Free. Let's talk." That's all it said. At first, no one came. I sat there for 2 hours every Tuesday. I read a book. I drank coffee. I watched people walk by. No one stopped. No one even looked at me. They probably thought I was crazy. Some old retired lawyer sitting at a table with a sign that said "Free, let's talk." I thought about quitting. I thought about going home. I thought about giving up. But then I thought about Margaret's plate. I thought about Tom and Carol's tree. I thought about Linda's kids drawing pictures that no one came to pick up. And I stayed. Then, on the third Tuesday, a woman came. She was maybe 40. She had dark circles under her eyes. She was wearing a sweatshirt that was too big for her. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. She sat down across from me. She didn't say anything at first. She just sat there. Then she said, "My husband and I are fighting. We don't talk anymore. We just yell. I don't know what to do." I said, "Tell me what you're really mad about." She said, "He forgets our anniversary. He works late. He doesn't listen to me. He doesn't help with the kids. He doesn't even look at me anymore. It's like I'm invisible." I said, "No. Tell me what you're really scared of." She stopped. She looked at me. She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You're not mad because he forgets your anniversary. You're scared. What are you scared of?" She thought for a minute. She looked down at her hands. Then she started crying. She said, "I'm scared he doesn't love me anymore. I'm scared I'm going to be alone. I'm scared that I wasted my life marrying him. I'm scared that my kids are going to grow up in a house where their parents hate each other. I'm scared that I'm not enough." I said, "Have you told him that?" She said, "No. I'm too scared. What if he says he doesn't love me? What if he leaves? What if I'm right?" I said, "What if he's scared too? What if he's scared you don't love him? What if he's scared he's not a good husband? What if he's scared he's going to lose you? What if he's working late because he thinks that's the only way he can provide for you? What if he forgets your anniversary because he's so stressed about money that he can't think straight? What if he doesn't help with the kids because he thinks you're better at it than he is? What if he's just as scared as you are? She looked at me. She said, "You think that's possible?" I said, "I know it is. I was that guy. I was the guy who worked late. I was the guy who forgot anniversaries. I was the guy who didn't listen. I was the guy who stopped looking at his wife. And the whole time, I was terrified. I was scared I wasn't good enough. I was scared I was going to lose her. I was scared I was failing. I just didn't know how to say it. I didn't know how to be vulnerable. I didn't know how to admit that I was scared." She said, "What do I do?" I said, "Go home. Wait until he's calm. Wait until the kids are in bed. Sit down next to him. Look him in the eye. And say, 'I'm scared.' That's it. Just say, 'I'm scared.' Don't tell him what he's doing wrong. Don't tell him what you want him to do. Just tell him what you're feeling. Tell him what you're scared of. And then listen. Let him tell you what he's scared of." She left. I didn't think I would see her again. I thought she would go home and nothing would change. I thought she would be too scared to say anything. I thought it was too late. But she came back the next week. She was smiling. She looked different. Lighter. Like she'd been carrying something heavy for years and had finally put it down. She said, "I did it. I went home. I waited until the kids were in bed. I sat down next to him on the couch. I said, 'I'm scared.' He looked at me. He said, 'What?' I said it again. 'I'm scared. I'm scared you don't love me anymore. I'm scared I'm losing you. I'm scared our kids are going to grow up thinking this is what love looks like.' He just stared at me. And then he started crying. He said, 'Me too. I'm scared too. I'm scared you hate me. I'm scared I'm a terrible husband. I'm scared I'm a terrible father. I'm scared you're going to leave me. I'm scared I'm going to end up alone.' We talked. For 3 hours. We talked about things we hadn't talked about in years. We talked about our dreams. Our fears. Our failures. Our hopes. We cried. We laughed. We held each other. And for the first time in I don't know how long, I felt like I was talking to my husband. Not the man I fight with. Not the man who disappoints me. But the man I fell in love with. We haven't yelled since. We're not perfect. We still have problems. But we're talking now. We're actually talking. And last weekend, we went on a date. The first one in 5 years. We went to the same restaurant where we had our first date. We held hands. We talked. We laughed. It felt like we were young again. Like we were falling in love again. I smiled. I said, "I'm glad. I'm really glad." She said, "Thank you. Thank you for asking me what I was really scared of. No one has ever asked me that before. That's what I do now. Every Tuesday. I sit at that table. I ask people what they're really scared of. I don't give them legal advice. I don't tell them what to do. I don't tell them who's right or who's wrong. I just listen. I just let them say the thing they're scared to say. The thing they've been holding inside for months or years or decades. And it works. More people started coming. A man who was scared he was going to lose his job and wouldn't be able to provide for his family. A teenager who was scared she wasn't good enough, that she would never be good enough. A woman who was scared she was going to die alone, that no one would come to her funeral. A man who was scared he wasn't a good dad, that his kids would grow up and realize he had no idea what he was doing. A woman who was scared her husband was having an affair but was too afraid to ask. A man who was scared his wife was going to leave him because he'd gained weight. A couple who were scared they'd made a mistake getting married so young. They all come. They all sit. They all talk. They all say the thing they're scared to say. And most of the time, that's enough. Most of the time, just saying it out loud, just being heard, just knowing that someone else understands, that's enough to start healing. That's enough to start fixing what's broken. I keep that plate on the table with me every Tuesday. The chipped blue plate from Margaret and Robert. People ask me about it sometimes. They say, "What's that? Why do you have a broken plate?" And I tell them. I tell them about Robert and Margaret. I tell them about the $20,000. I tell them about the 3 years of overtime. I tell them about the love that got lost in translation. I tell them about the divorce that never should have happened. And I tell them that this plate reminds me that the things we fight over are never really the things that matter. One Tuesday, about 6 months after I started, a man came in. He was maybe 55. He was wearing a suit. Expensive. Well-tailored. He looked successful. He looked like he had it all together. But his eyes told a different story. His eyes looked tired. Scared. Lost. He sat down. He said, "I don't know why I'm here. I don't even know what I'm doing. I have an appointment with a divorce lawyer tomorrow. I've already put down a $10,000 retainer. My wife and I have been married for 28 years. We have 3 kids. They're all grown now. And I'm about to throw it all away." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because I'm angry. Because she doesn't appreciate me. Because I work 70 hours a week and she complains that I'm never home. Because I've given her everything and it's not enough. Because I'm tired of fighting." I said, "What are you really scared of?" He looked at me. He said, "What?" I said, "You're not here because you're angry. You're here because you're scared. So what are you really scared of?" He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I'm scared that I wasted my life. I'm scared that I spent 30 years building a career and making money and I missed everything that mattered. I'm scared that my kids don't really know me. I'm scared that my wife stopped loving me years ago and I was too busy to notice. I'm scared that if I get divorced, I'm going to end up alone in some apartment somewhere, realizing that I had everything and I threw it away because I was too proud to admit that I was wrong." I said, "Have you told your wife any of this?" He said, "No. We don't talk anymore. We just fight. We just hurt each other." I said, "Cancel the appointment with the lawyer. Go home tonight. Sit down with your wife. And tell her what you just told me. Tell her you're scared. Tell her you think you wasted your life. Tell her you're sorry. And then listen. Let her tell you what she's scared of." He said, "What if it's too late? What if she doesn't care anymore?" I said, "Then at least you'll know. At least you'll know you tried. At least you won't spend the rest of your life wondering what would have happened if you'd just been honest." He left. I didn't think he would do it. I thought he would go through with the divorce. I thought it was too late for him. But 3 weeks later, he came back. He brought his wife with him. They were holding hands. He said, "We wanted to thank you. We almost threw away 28 years. We almost destroyed our family. But we talked. We really talked. For the first time in years, we actually listened to each other. We're not perfect. We still have a lot to work through. But we're trying. We're really trying." His wife said, "He told me he was scared." And I realized I was scared too. I was scared he didn't love me anymore. I was scared I'd become invisible to him. I was scared our marriage had become just a routine, just 2 people living in the same house but not really living together. But when he said he was scared, when he cried, when he told me he was sorry, I realized that he still cared. He still loved me. He'd just forgotten how to show it. They left. And I sat there, holding that chipped blue plate, thinking about all the people I could have helped over the years if I'd just asked them what they were really scared of instead of asking them what they wanted to fight over. I think about that a lot now. I think about how many marriages I helped destroy. How many families I helped tear apart. How many people I sent down a path of anger and bitterness and regret. All because I was too focused on winning. Too focused on the money. Too focused on the fight. There was this other case, years ago, maybe you're 8 or 9. A woman named Patricia. Mid-40s. Her husband had cheated on her. She was devastated. Furious. She wanted to destroy him in court. She wanted everything. The house. The cars. The retirement accounts. Full custody of the kids. She wanted him to suffer. I helped her. I fought for her. I won. She got almost everything she asked for. Her husband was left with barely anything. And I thought I'd done a good job. I thought I'd helped her. But years later, I ran into her at a coffee shop. She looked older. Worn down. We talked. She told me that getting everything she wanted had been the worst thing that ever happened to her. Her kids resented her. They blamed her for destroying their father. Her son stopped talking to her completely. Her daughter had an eating disorder. Patricia was drowning in debt trying to maintain the house she'd fought so hard to keep. She was working 2 jobs. She was exhausted. And her ex-husband? He'd moved on. He'd remarried. He had a new baby. He seemed happy. She said, I thought winning would make me feel better. I thought if I could hurt him the way he hurt me, I would feel whole again. But it didn't work. It just made everything worse. I'm still angry. I'm still hurt. And now I'm alone too. I think about Patricia every time someone comes to my table at the community center. I think about how I could have helped her if I'd just asked the right questions. If I'd just tried to understand what she really needed instead of what she thought she wanted. The thing is, most people who come to me at that table, they're not really there because they want to fight. They're there because they're scared. They're scared of being alone. They're scared of failing. They're scared of losing the life they built. They're scared their kids will hate them. They're scared they'll never be happy again. They're scared they made a mistake. They're scared it's too late to fix things. And when you address the fear, when you let people talk about what they're really feeling, something shifts. The anger starts to fade. The need to fight starts to disappear. Because anger is just fear wearing a mask. Anger is just pain that doesn't know how to express itself. I learned that too late. But I'm trying to make up for it now. There's this couple that comes to see me sometimes. David and Susan. They're in their 70s. They've been married for 48 years. They told me that about 10 years ago, they almost got divorced. They'd grown apart. They barely talked. They slept in separate bedrooms. They were just roommates, not partners. Susan said, I thought about calling a lawyer. I thought about ending it. But then one night, David knocked on my bedroom door. He hadn't done that in years. He came in and sat on the edge of my bed. And he said, I'm scared. I said, scared of what? He said, I'm scared you don't love me anymore. I'm scared I'm going to die and realize I spent the last 20 years of my life sleeping in a different room from the woman I love. I'm scared I've lost you and I don't know how to get you back. Susan said, I started crying. Because I was scared of the same thing. I thought he didn't love me anymore. I thought we were just staying together out of habit. But when he said he was scared, when he admitted he still loved me, everything changed. We started talking again. Really talking. We started going on walks together. We started sleeping in the same room again. We started holding hands. And now, 10 years later, I can honestly say I'm more in love with him than I was when we got married. David said, that one conversation saved our marriage. Just admitting we were scared. Just being honest. That's all it took. Stories like that, they're why I keep going every Tuesday. They're why I sit at that table with Margaret's plate and a sign that says free, let's talk. Because I know now that most people don't need a lawyer. They don't need someone to fight for them. They need someone to listen. They need someone to help them be honest. They need someone to help them say the thing they're too scared to say. I wish I'd known that 30 years ago. I wish I'd known that when Linda came to me crying about her husband not calling their kids. I wish I'd known that when Tom and Carol came to me fighting over a tree. I wish I'd known that when Robert and Margaret came to me fighting over $20,000. I could have helped them. I could have actually helped them. But I was too busy trying to win. That's the thing about being a lawyer. You're trained to win. You're trained to find the weakness in the other side's argument. You're trained to attack. You're trained to destroy. You're not trained to heal. You're not trained to listen. You're not trained to help people find their way back to each other. And that's what most people need. They don't need to win. They need to be heard. They need to be understood. They need to know that what they're feeling is valid. They need to know they're not alone. I think about my own kids sometimes. I think about how I raised them. I was always working. Always busy. Always stressed. My son, he's 32 now. He told me last year that when he was growing up, he thought I didn't care about him. He thought I loved my job more than I loved him. He said, "You were never at my baseball games. You were never at my school plays. You were always at the office. I thought you didn't want to be around me." It broke my heart. Because the truth was, I was working so hard because I wanted to give him everything. I wanted to give him a good life. A better life than I had. But in trying to give him everything, I didn't give him the one thing he really needed. Me. My time. My attention. My presence. We've talked about it since then. We've worked through it. But I can't get those years back. I can't go back and be at those baseball games. I can't go back and be at those school plays. I missed them. And I'll regret that for the rest of my life. My daughter, she's 29. She's different. She doesn't talk about the past much. But I can see it in her eyes sometimes. I can see the hurt. I can see the distance. She's polite to me. She's respectful. But we're not close. Not like we should be. And I know that's my fault. I know I did that. I'm trying to fix it now. I'm trying to be present. I'm trying to listen. I'm trying to be the father I should have been all along. But it's hard. It's hard to rebuild something that was broken for so long. That's why I tell people who come to my table, don't wait. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until your kids are grown and distant. Don't wait until your marriage is so broken that you can't remember why you fell in love in the first place. Don't wait until you're sitting in a lawyer's office signing papers that will change your life forever. Talk now. Be honest now. Say the thing you're scared to say now. Because you might not get another chance. I had a woman come to me a few months ago. Younger. Maybe early 30s. She said, "My husband and I have been married for 5 years. We have a 2-year-old daughter. And I'm thinking about leaving. He's not abusive. He's not mean. He's just distant. He works all the time. He's stressed all the time. And I feel like I'm raising our daughter alone. I feel like I'm married to a ghost." I said, "Have you told him how you feel?" She said, "I've tried. But he just gets defensive. He says he's working hard for us. He says he's doing his best. And then we fight. And nothing changes." I said, "Tell me what you're scared of." She said, "I'm scared that this is it. I'm scared that this is what the rest of my life is going to look like. I'm scared my daughter is going to grow up thinking this is what marriage is supposed to be. I'm scared I'm going to wake up in 20 years and realize I wasted my life." I said, "What if he's scared too?" She said, "Of what?" I said, "What if he's scared he's failing you? What if he's scared he's not good enough? What if he's working all the time because he thinks that's what he's supposed to do? What if he's distant because he doesn't know how to connect anymore? What if he's just as scared and lost as you are?" She thought about it. Then she said, I never thought about it like that. I said, go home. Write him a letter. Don't talk to him face to face, because you said he gets defensive. Write him a letter. Tell him everything you just told me. Tell him you're scared. Tell him you feel alone. Tell him you miss him. And don't accuse him. Don't tell him what he's doing wrong. Just tell him how you feel. Tell him what you need. And then see what happens. She left. She came back 3 weeks later. She was crying. But they were happy tears. She said, I wrote him the letter. I left it on his pillow. He read it that night. And he cried. He told me he had no idea I felt that way. He told me he thought I was fine. He thought I had everything under control. He said he'd been working so much because he was scared. He was scared of failing. He was scared of not being able to provide. He was scared of not being a good enough husband and father. So he threw himself into work because that was the one thing he knew how to do. We talked all night. We cried. We held each other. And the next day, he called his boss and told him he needed to scale back his hours. He told him family came first. And now he comes home at a reasonable time. He helps with our daughter. He's present. He's here. And I feel like I have my husband back. She said, thank you. Thank you for helping me see that he was scared too. Thank you for helping me find the words. You saved my marriage. But I didn't save it. She saved it. She was brave enough to be honest. She was brave enough to say the things she was scared to say. I just helped her see what was really going on. That's all I do now. I help people see. I help people understand. I help people be brave enough to be honest. And it's the most rewarding work I've ever done. More rewarding than any case I ever won. More rewarding than any check I ever deposited. Because I'm not helping people fight anymore. I'm helping people heal. I'm helping people love. I'm helping people find their way back to each other. I think about that tech CEO sometimes. The one who gave me the $42,000 check. The one who said he didn't care what it cost, he just wanted to make sure his wife didn't get half his company. I wonder what happened to him. I wonder if he went through with the divorce. I wonder if he's happy. I wonder if he ever realized that the thing he was really fighting for wasn't his company. It was his pride. His ego. His need to win. I wonder if anyone ever asked him what he was really scared of. I'll never know. But I hope someone did. I hope someone helped him see what was really going on. I hope he didn't make the same mistakes I helped so many other people make. Every Tuesday, when I sit at that table, I think about all the people I failed over the years. All the marriages I helped destroy. All the families I helped tear apart. And I can't undo that. I can't go back and fix it. But I can try to make up for it. I can try to help the people who come to me now. I can try to save the marriages that can still be saved. I can try to prevent other people from making the same mistakes. That's my purpose now. That's my mission. That's why I quit. That's why I walked away from millions of dollars and a successful career and a reputation that took 30 years to build. Because none of that mattered. None of it was real. The money was just paper. The reputation was just ego. The success was just an illusion. What's real is the plate on my table. What's real is the couple holding hands as they leave my table. What's real is the woman who went home and told her husband she was scared. What's real is the man who canceled his appointment with the divorce lawyer and went home and apologized to his wife. What's real is the healing. The connection. The love. That's what matters. That's all that ever mattered. I know you're probably watching this because you're going through something. Maybe you're fighting with someone you love. Maybe you're thinking about getting a divorce. Maybe you're scared and alone and you don't know what to do. Maybe you're angry and hurt and you want someone to pay for what they did to you. I want you to know something. I want you to really hear this. You don't have to fight. You don't have to hire a lawyer. You don't have to turn the person you once loved into an enemy. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars destroying each other in court. You just have to talk. You just have to be honest. You just have to say the thing you're scared to say. I know that's hard. I know it's scary. I know you're afraid of being vulnerable. I know you're afraid of being hurt. I know you're afraid that if you open up, the other person will use it against you. But what's the alternative? Fighting? Yelling? Spending years in court? Destroying each other? Turning your kids against each other? Wasting thousands of dollars on lawyers who are just going to make everything worse? That's not the answer. That's never the answer. The answer is honesty. The answer is vulnerability. The answer is being brave enough to say, I'm scared. I'm hurt. I need you. I miss you. I'm sorry. That's it. That's the secret. That's the thing I learned after 30 years of helping people destroy each other. That's the thing that made me quit. Let me tell you a mantra. I say it every morning when I wake up. I say it every Tuesday when I sit at my table. I want you to say it with me right now. It's simple. It's not fancy. It's just the truth. I am not here to win. I am here to be heard. Say it again. I am not here to win. I am here to be heard. One more time. I am not here to win. I am here to be heard. That's the transformation. That's the shift. That's the thing that changes everything. When you stop trying to win and start trying to be heard, everything else falls away. The anger fades. The need for revenge disappears. The desire to hurt the other person evaporates. Because you realize that you don't need to win. You just need to be understood. You just need to be seen. You just need to know that what you're feeling matters. And when both people in a relationship can do that, when both people can stop trying to win and start trying to be heard, that's when healing happens. That's when love comes back. That's when you remember why you fell in love in the first place. I spent 30 years making people fight. I spent 30 years making people hate each other. I spent 30 years making people forget that they once loved each other. I spent 30 years making money off of people's pain and fear and anger. But now I spend my days helping people remember. Helping people heal. Helping people love each other again. Helping people be heard. And that's worth more than any check I ever deposited. That's worth more than any case I ever won. That's worth more than any reputation I ever built. Because at the end of the day, none of that matters. The money doesn't matter. The success doesn't matter. The reputation doesn't matter. What matters is the people. What matters is the love. What matters is the healing. What matters is being seen. Being heard. Being understood. That's it. That's everything. If you're watching this right now, I want you to do something for me. I want you to go into the comments. Tell me where you are and what time it is. Maybe you're in Chicago at 7 in the evening, sitting on your couch, thinking about calling a divorce lawyer. Maybe you're in Houston at 6, lying in bed next to your spouse, feeling more alone than you've ever felt. Maybe you're in a small town in Iowa at 10 at night, sitting up, staring at your phone, wondering if you should text the person you're fighting with. Maybe you're in London at 2 in the morning, crying because you miss someone and you don't know how to tell them. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, I want to know. I want to see you. I want you to be heard. Because that's what this is all about. Being heard. Being seen. Knowing that you're not alone. And if this resonated with you? If this made you think? If this made you want to call someone and tell them you're scared? Hit the like button. It helps more people find this video. It helps more people be heard. It helps more people heal. And subscribe. Because next week, I'm going to tell you about something I haven't talked about yet. I'm going to tell you about the day I had to tell a father to go home and hug his daughter instead of fighting his ex-wife over a college fund. It's a story about a man who was ready to spend $100,000 to win a fight that he had already lost. It's a story about a man who was so focused on being right that he forgot to be a dad. You don't want to miss that one. But before you go, I want you to remember something. The next time you're fighting with someone. The next time you're angry. The next time you want to win. The next time you want to hurt someone the way they hurt you. Stop. Take a breath. Put your pride aside. Put your ego aside. Put your need to be right aside. And ask yourself, what am I really scared of? And then, tell them. Be brave. Be vulnerable. Be honest. Say the thing you're scared to say. You might be surprised what happens. You might be surprised how the other person responds. You might be surprised how much lighter you feel. You might be surprised how the anger starts to fade. You might be surprised how the love starts to come back. I'm not saying it will fix everything. I'm not saying it will solve all your problems. I'm not saying you'll live happily ever after. But it's a start. It's a beginning. It's a chance. And isn't a chance better than nothing? Isn't a chance better than spending years in court? Isn't a chance better than destroying each other? Isn't a chance better than living with regret for the rest of your life? I think it is. I know it is. So be brave. Be honest. Say the thing you're scared to say. And see what happens. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next week. Share with me where you are watching me from and your take on my story.